stood out to you from a positive standpoint, and what stood out to you as got more work to do?
Yeah, it was exactly what I'd hoped for. I'm a staunch believer in the closed door scrimmages. I've been doing them as a head coach, every year since I've been a head coach, and I just think there's so many teachable moments and situations, and at that point in the practice schedule, the guys are tired of playing against each other, and they want to kind of come together and compete against someone in a different colored jersey. And we did one of the earlier scrimmages probably across the country. Only a handful or two scrimmages took place that weekend that I'm aware of, and I'm really glad that we did, because of the point I just mentioned. But in terms of on the floor, I mean, typical. A lot of mistakes, a lot of things to be cleaned up. It couldn't have been better. It was good timing for it. We needed to be exposed, if you will, and we had plenty of that. And so last week and this week, we're trying to do the same thing before we get another opportunity to play another closed door scrimmage.
What are you kind of hoping that this team's kind of identity is heading into that opener, and right when fans can kind of see what the Jans era is going to all be about?
Well, yeah, we're going to have to unfurl it here in 2 weeks. And like most coaches, I wish we had more time, but unfortunately the calendar keeps moving, and it's upon us. I would love to be able to say that, our identity will be fully formed by then. It won't. We'll be a work in progress probably for a while, and I would hope that eventually you'll see a team that plays together, competes for one another, leaves everything on the floor. For us, it always starts with defense and rebounding and having some toughness about us as a group, and we're headed in that direction. We're certainly not a finished product, but for the most part, I think we're where we need to be in terms of a timeline. But we'll see. There's every day is crucial for our development. There's so many things we still have to put in, but again, hopefully on Monday, November 7th, people will see a glimpse of, at the very minimum, of who we are and how we're going to play.
You said a lot of good things about Tolu SEC Media Days last week. We've seen him. We knew he was a good player already, but what have you seen with him maybe during the off season that you really liked?
Yeah, I think it's just a culmination of every day. He's becoming an everyday guy, and around here, if you're an everyday guy, you're going to play a lot. And that's what we preach to everybody on our team is, if you have a good day, or if you have a good segment, great. That's the expectation. But you got to string days together, which become weeks and months, and there's just never time to rest when it comes to your approach and how you take care of your business every day. And that's what's impressed me the most. It's not necessarily like anything basketball-wise, what he does on the court. You guys have all seen his skill level and his body and his quickness and all the things that make anyone a good player, and Tolu possesses a lot of those characteristics. But for me, it's more just his mindset, his mentality, his approach. He's shown some leadership qualities, which is nice to see. He's been willing to open his mouth up on a couple of occasions when it was needed, and that's always good when you can get one of your better players to chime in and start saying the same things that the coaches are to each other. And so we've had a couple of situations like that, and that's good to see.
Go to Theo to coach's right.
Yeah, you mentioned the identity won't be fully formed by the season opener. How do you kind of balance trying to build that resume while also trying to kind of find the right guys on the court?
Yeah, that's a balance. That's what we're trying to do every day is, get our scheme right, get, more importantly, them to understand, the sets and the looks and how we're guarding this action or that action or whatever the case is. And at the same time, you're always building or defending your culture depending on where you're at as a program every single moment of every single day. And, that's what we talk about a lot, but at the same time, it ain't just about that. We've got to get ourselves ready to compete against another team, and we're in the midst of trying to do that right now.
Move back to Paul. Go ahead.
A couple questions, Coach. First of all, the overall, health of your team. Anybody dealing with anything right now?
We've had some issues. I don't know if this is public knowledge or not, but Shaq Moore had a minor surgery weeks ago. He was out for 3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe. He has since recovered and has been back at practice for a couple weeks now. So we're talking, 6, 7 weeks ago. He had an injury that needed to be operated on. And then Keyshawn Murphy, unfortunately, has had some ailments that has taken him out of practice for a while. He's back now. Deshaun Davis has had some minor injuries that have limited him in terms of contact and reps in practice. But by and large, knock on wood, we've been pretty good in the injury department for avoiding any long-term issues. And, we've had more people in practice every day than I can remember, to be honest with you. So hopefully that'll be a trend that continues.
Kind of, obviously I know starting jobs are always up for grabs, depending on the week. Doesn't matter, you're fighting to keep your job or not, but kind of intrigued. It seems like most positions are kind of easy to figure out, but kind of intrigued about power forward. How's that kind of shaping up with that battle, and who's that between right now at 4?
Yeah, depending on your perspective, like to have competition across the board, not just at the 4. People always want to ask about starting lineups, and what you're going to have to understand is they're not as important to me as they are to the kids and the fans. Like, I'm more interested in who finishes the game. We haven't always necessarily started our 5 best players all the time because of having someone to come off the bench that provides something to the game that we feel like we need, and it gives us that punch when we start rotating guys. So we're not there yet. Certainly if we had to play a game today, I would roll out 5 starters, but I try not to do that because I think it's unfair to the guys. Like, I try not to let my mind wander like that until it's real close to game day, because I don't want to put them in a box, if you will. I want them to continue to compete with one another, and everyone does it different. A lot of coaches from the jump put their top 5 or top 8 on one team and go against the other team for the majority of the season, and I don't do that. Like, we split them up evenly every single day, and we mix and match every single day, because I want them, develop some chemistry and relationships on the floor with each other and playing all those different groups. You never know what kind of lineup may surprise you. And so we do that a lot during the year, too. Even when we get to games, we're going to mix and match our practices and who we're going against. And but in terms of specific, like the 4 spot, I mean, Cameron Matthews and Tyler Stevenson are both really good players, and they're competing, and they both bring different things to the floor, and but I like both of them. I think both of them are going to be able to be impactful for us throughout the season.
We'll go to John, the coach's left.
What was kind of the evaluation process like? Like, did you look back last year at how Shaquille was used, how DJ was used, how Tolu was used? Did you evaluate any of that? Try to look at what they were good at and not good at, use that evaluation into this year, and are you going to use those guys any kind of differently? What was that whole process like?
Yeah, that's a good question. And to be honest with you, what I did was use the tape from last year when I initially got the job. I watched quite a bit of synergy and game film of the team, more so from an evaluation standpoint for me and my staff to see, one, are these the type of guys that, we want and we need to help us, win at the level we're trying to win at? And 2, what do we have to go out and recruit, knowing what kind of players we have in the fold. So it wasn't necessarily for what you described in terms of how we're going to utilize them. I wasn't concerned at that time, and our scheme will be, completely different than the previous staff's scheme, and so that really wasn't why I watched all the film that I did. But I understand the question.
Got time for a couple more. We'll stay to coaches left.
I want to talk about a couple of your freshmen, Martavius Russell and Kamani Hamilton. Obviously, what have you seen from them, just from when they got to the summer, and how much have they developed, up until now?
Yeah, I like them both. They're working hard. They're great young people. I don't care, who you've played for or where you're playing in college. Like, you can't describe the jump to those kids. They all think there'll be a seamless transition from high school to college, and by and large, that's not the case. And probably most sports for that matter, but definitely in ours, in my experience. And so they're, it's like walking out in the cold for a while. They have to get adjusted to not being the best player on the court, most of the days that they practice in or play in. And now they're learning a whole new system, terminology, speed of practice, speed of the game, size of the guys they're playing with and against. And there's just a lot going on, let alone what, going to college and, having college courses and being away from home. And there's so many factors that they're dealing with. But having said all that, I really like where they're at and the way our team is coming together. Like, we're going to have some young guys play significant minutes. And my history says that's a big ask. We'll see. But they're going to get thrown in the fire and see how they compete and how they react to the games. But they're both doing really well, and I'm excited about both of them.
Anything else for Coach before we let him go? Paul, go ahead and wrap us up.
Got another freshman, and obviously he's a freshman, like you just said, it's such a big jump. But watching some clips of him, I guess Sean Jones isn't really your typical walk-on kid. Kind of take us through that, how they ended up here, and just what you've seen from him.
Yeah, well, as soon as you asked the question about those two, I initially thought we should throw Sean Jones into that pool as well. And he's been a heck of a surprise, to be honest with you. I'm really glad we have him. His upside is huge. He's got been blessed with some long arms and long torso, and just naturally moves on the basketball court like, you want basketball players to move. But he's put on like 15, 18 pounds in a hurry, and he really needed it. That was the, knock on him. He was pretty slender, but he's really worked in the weight room. And but he's got a chance. And how we got him, we got him real late. We got lucky / fortunate that he was available late, and we knew someone that knew someone, and obviously he ended up coming to be a Bulldog. And like you said, he's not a typical walk-on, and we certainly don't look at him that way. And and I don't care about that either. Like, I'm going to play the guys that give us the best chance to win, regardless of their status of how they're on the team. And everybody knows that in our program. And it's just like I've told them many times since we've started, that what you've done last year here or elsewhere means nothing to me. Like, you're going to have to earn it each and every day around here. And I don't care what year you are, what your scholarship status is, where you played last year, who you played for, what you were ranked. We're going to play the guys that give us the best chance, and that's how we try to compete and practice every day.
Appreciate it. We'll see you guys next Monday.
Thanks.